2008, I was mobilized to serve in Afghanistan. Our mission was to mentor and train the NCOs and first-line officers of the Afghan National Army. We were there to train their trainers to train their soldiers to protect their nation. In February of 2009, the Afghan Army was issued the US M16 rifle, the A2 rifle, and our mission was to train them how to train their soldiers to efficiently maintain and fire accurately with that M16. I extended my tour of duty and kept training the ANA. At Camp Alamo, we had the MWR committee, which is the Moral Welfare and Recreation Committee, and they organize what kind of activities we'd like to do and events on post, and they were asking what we would like to do, and being away from home for quite some time, I really started to, well, I had an idea. I had this idea, like, what if we built a train layout in Camp Alamo? And, I said, what if, it just started to speak to me. The train started to talk to me, we can build it, we could build it here. We could build it here. So I made a proposal, and they said, well, how much is this going to cost? And I said, nothing, I got it. I just needed some space in the MWR room, and I needed supplies, I needed some wood, I needed some lumber and tools, which all were available at a limited amount, but they were available enough to build a layout. To my surprise, it was actually approved, and they gave me enough space at the MWR room for about 17 feet by 6 feet. So plenty of room for an HO layout. The key was what kind of wood I would be able to get. Primarily with HO, you would use 1x4, 1x3, and at Camp Alamo, you didn't use wood that small. You would use 2x4. They were building bee huts, buildings. So in early October of 2009, I got the green light and the project was a go. I started to tell my battle buddies about what I was about to do, but to make it happen, I was going to need a lot of help to assemble, to move, to put this layout together by Thanksgiving. So we had about a month to make it happen. So I found Sergeant Chad Flamion, who was an established carpenter at home, and I showed him my design and how I wanted to put this together, and he took it from there, and he did some fabulous work. We had plenty of 2x4s, which we could actually split into 2x2s to save wood and just to make it lighter. Once the frames were done and the tabletops fastened to the frames, we were able to bring them out of that bee hut building and into the MWR room. Got a lot of help from my buddies. As far as plywood, the Command Sergeant Major of the post promised me plywood 4x8s, new 4x8s, which is perfect for a train layout. But as the news got in, the 10th Mountain were coming a lot sooner, and he was going to need every piece of that to continue to build structures to house the 10th Mountain coming in. So he told me hold off on the plywood, and then he went on leave for several weeks. So I couldn't wait any longer to wait for the okay to use that plywood. So I had to scrounge around the training areas, even outside of Camp Alamo, and I eventually found some plywood that the range uses.
Control the power. Hold it back. Control the power. Hold it back.
Back home, Specialist Chris Russo was an established mechanic. He showed me some of the cars he has and worked on, and it was pretty impressive. He became our troubleshooter and a very good electrician. He really was able to smooth out all the electrical wiring that I first laid, and he went over it, troubleshot it, and did some more soldering and wrapping, and really made the electronics of the layout flawless. It's a lot less wiring involved. You don't need blocking switches. It generally, your command control system runs the train, and you don't run the track to run the train. You run the train directly through DCC.
That'll be fine. Alright. Now, we're going to staple this one right here, a little overhang. Then we got the other track. There we go.
And meanwhile, the deliveries just kept coming in day after day, week to week. Structures of all kinds, kits to be built. As Chad progressed building the frame for the layout, there was a growing concern about the plywood because of its wear and tear on it. And, it had a little curve and a little warp here and there on it. But we both figured that it would settle in once it's screwed into the framework.
That went around there nice. I bet you that could probably go around there with some speed too.
Slow walking together.
We think that would alleviate any further problems. We were wrong.
The
Amtrak Amfleet cars, they just kept the railing on that left wing of the layout. The plywood was just wasn't stable enough, even as well as we fastened it to the frame. We tried everything. We tried widening up the turns, widening the turning radius. It's just those cars just couldn't handle the dynamics of that rail for whatever reason. I had some New York Central passenger cars as a backup, and that wasn't working out. They were very light, and I need something that had some weight to it, and I need to get it fast because I had no passenger service. Staff Sergeants Bernie Way and Jason Thompson joined our merry bunch and helped take the layout to the next stage. To make an immediate base for a mountainside or valley, JT came up with a great idea by simply taking a garbage bag and collecting air and tying it off and placing it on the layout. I had friends and family send me a container of hydrocal plaster with some paper towels. The hydrocal had to be pasty, but also it had to have some liquid quality to it so the paper towel can absorb the hydrocal. And there it was, an instant mountainside and valley. And our regular duties continued on. Some of us had to go to other forward operating bases on certain missions. our schedules were different from each other, where maybe one of us or two of us were able to work on a layout as others were doing their jobs. So we just all you can do is really make the best of it, and whatever downtime we can get, but that's what we did. It was just a way to bring a little bit of home to our area, to our combat zone. And I think what really makes me proud is that when people ask me what I've done, and I tell them what I did, but it makes me proud to say that, me and my friends built a train layout in a combat zone with DCC, high quality 21st century model railroading. On Thanksgiving evening, the Camp Alamo Holiday Model Train exhibit became open for play. You see, the folks at Camp Alamo, they were in for a real treat. The locomotives that we had were just released, many of them. The Empire State, New York Central from MTH, that just got released that year, 2009. The Bowser Stewart F3s were released in 2008, and so were the Broadway Limited, that New York Central steamer, the 464. So these were just released state-of-the-art DCC locomotives with amazing sound to it. They were probably made in the late 70s, maybe early 80s. They're very heavy, they're lit, they had lights in them. They were perfect for this type of layout, and they say passenger service in the Alamo layout. They had the weight, they had the look, they were Long Island Railroad, they were perfect. In some state of mind, I hope building the layout and people running the layout, I hope it would help decompress, some of the stresses that we had to face every day and night, mentoring the ANA, mentoring the Afghan Army. At times it was very frustrating, the little progress noticed, and, you take it back to the forward operating base and back to your group, and I think the layout was able to help some of us guys to help decompress our frustrations and while serving out there. You know, there was nothing prototypical about the layout. It wasn't anything you would see featured in a magazine. How prototypical and how high quality and craftsmanship and all that. You know, all we really wanted to do was get some trains running and for the holidays, and we could add a few buildings and lights and maybe get the scenery as clear as we can, considering the time we had to work on this project. I think all in all, I think we definitely achieved our goals. The folks that really took a big interest in the layout were my colleagues from the Mongolian National Army. Those kids really took on the layout, and they ran the layout like they built it themselves, and that just goes to show how user-friendly the MRC DCC system was. They just took where we left off, and they were running trains all evening, and it was a pleasure to see them enjoy what we put together. Camp Alamo contributed a Mongolian yurt for the layout. I still keep it on display for all to see. You know, I made a lot of friends, and a lot of longtime friends. Captain Abai, we still stay in touch, and several of those guys have some of my buildings